Oh, sorry. Now I'm calling the meeting to order and we will start off with roll call. So let me see. Michael Althauser is here, Leetta Dahlhoff, Eileen Swarthout, and myself, so that makes a quorum. So we will now go to approval of the minutes for the Budget and Finance Committee on October 19th, 2022. Do I have a
So moved. So moved.
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
All right, it's been approved. The next item is the 2024 Community Human Services Program funding, and Brad will take care of that.
All right, thank you, everyone. Everyone who's online who's not a member of the committee, if you could mute your microphones and turn off your camera until we get to your interview, we'd appreciate it. The purpose and the recommendation from the committee today is to make a recommendation on the 2024 Human Services funding through the Community Human Services Program. The Community Human Service Program was established to reserve a portion of funds for local organizations that provide human services to Tumwater residents but may not qualify for a regional priority. So we're very excited to have a number of folks here today who have applied, and we are very interested in hearing your proposals. If you have any questions as we go through, we'll answer them. I think we'll probably just want to get started because we have a lot of folks here today. Rebecca, do you have the list of? Okay, thank you. The first group that is up for a 10-minute interview is Rebuilding Together Thurston County with Rebecca Graham. And Rebecca, it looks like you're unmuted. We're not hearing you yet.
Okay. And
now we can hear
all
you.
right. Is everybody feel comfortable if I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Might have to make sure that she has the ability to do that. So if you go under share.
So I want to thank everybody for having us today. My name's Rebecca Graham, and I'm a board member with Rebuilding Together Thurston County. I've been a board member for a few years now. And this is our first time having the opportunity that we've discovered this wonderful opportunity to try and request funds for our program. This year in 2023, we're celebrating our 20th year of being in the community. We work with volunteers to help folks live out their lives with dignity.
Rebecca, quick question. This is Councilmember Dahlhoff. Are you actually sharing your screen? Because I don't see anything.
My audio is not working. Is anybody able to hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay. I'm just going by your facial expression to know that you said yes, because I can't hear anything. Absolutely nothing. Does everybody feel okay if I continue?
There's no screen. I can't see anything that you're presenting. I read my lips. Can someone chat with her?
How's that?
Oh, yeah. Try again.
We don't have a
We have
chat.
to
I
stare
don't
at my
think
face.
we,
I'm
I
not
don't think
sharing the
we have
screen.
chat because it doesn't preserve public records, so we disable chat on Zoom, so we can't chat.
Rebecca, this is Pete.
Thank you, Pete. I can't hear anything.
You should be able to bring your slides up now. Because
She
this is
can't
the first.
hear you, Pete.
She can't hear me. I'm
Can't hear any of
gonna
us.
I'm gonna go ahead and put the slides up for her then. Sorry.
There we go.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay. Rebecca, we should hear you now. Go ahead. I've got the slides up. Sorry about this.
No problem.
Is there any way for us to unmute her?
No.
I'm thinking if she can't hear, perhaps sending her an email and letting her know that the presentation's ready for her.
I just texted her. We'll see.
She's,
Okay, how about if I just go ahead on this? Sorry, folks.
That would be good.
I'm,
That would be good.
I think you all know me. I'm Pete Komet. I'm now on the board of Rebuilding Together. And we're requesting funds under this program to do a specific project in Tumwater, which I'll describe here a bit later. As Rebecca mentioned, we're in our 20th year serving Thurston County. We repair homes. These are homes that are basically primarily, well, they all are low income residents, primarily seniors, some disabled, but mostly seniors. And of course, this revitalizes our communities and rebuilds the lives of these folks, many of which are living in very difficult conditions. We're a local nonprofit, but we're associated with a national network that we have technical support and other things from. It's governed by a voluntary board of directors with an unpaid executive director, Kathy Johnson, and we have a small part-time staff. Most of our work is done by volunteers that are skilled, but we do occasionally have large events like our in the spring, we will do an event where we bring in large groups to do bigger projects, and we do hire contractors when we do get funds available to do that. And our funding is from a mix of government and private foundations, as well as donations. This particular application is for a home, manufactured home in a mobile home park in Tumwater, occupied by Stephanie and her mom, both of which are disabled using walkers. There are numerous repairs needed on the home. This is for some specific things that we hope to accomplish. And their income, as you can see, is pretty small, basically Social Security. This is pretty common of our clients. That's both of them together, by the way. And of course, neither of them have the ability or the skills to do this work themselves. What they've applied for and what we would do with these funds is build a wheelchair ramp to enable access. The bathtub would be modified. This is not their bathtub, but a picture of what that would look like. There's leaks around the toilet and the floor is damaged. This is some pictures from a house we worked on here just a couple months ago. So we would make repairs on that and fix that, as well as perhaps do some other incidentals depending on how far the money goes. And really that completes the presentation. Just want to thank you all for your Parks Department for giving our organization a trophy at the 4th of July parade. And of course, don't forget about the Give Local campaign coming up here in a couple weeks. Opportunity for the community to support organizations like Rebuilding Together and others in the community. Any questions?
Any questions from anyone? Great. Well, thank you so much, Pete. That is very helpful. So
Very, very good. Yeah, I should mention we're asking for 3,000. Total cost estimates around 4 for just these items here. Obviously, we'll use other funds to match that to complete the work. So thank you.
Thank you. The next interview will be for Dispute Resolution Center of Thurston County with Elizabeth Drake. Elizabeth, if you could unmute and we're ready to go.
Hi, council members. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great,
Yes.
thank you. I'm Elizabeth Drake, Associate Director with the Dispute Resolution Center of Thurston County. You should also be able to see my share screen. I think you can see it. Great, thank you. Our story in Thurston County began more than 30 years ago with the notion that residents can settle their own disputes by learning effective communication skills and help people in their community who learn these skills with an impartial facilitator, impartial third-party mediator. Our vision basically at the Dispute Resolution Center is a South Sound community that has and uses healthy and respectful communication skills. We have 3 primary service areas. One is conflict prevention, and that's our training programs that we offer, communication skills and de-escalation skills, facilitating effective meetings. We also offer facilitation where we have mediators as third-party facilitators to help groups come to their own conclusions or facilitating meetings. Our second service area is conflict resolution, where we have our resource line, and our resource line is what we've applied for this grant, what you have funded in the past for us. And this resource line basically includes conciliation, phone negotiation, coaching or referral, and also our mediation is part of our conflict resolution services. And we also offer other services, including youth services, where we work with schools, doing peer mediation programs, and we also offer restorative justice dialogues here at the Thurston County Superior Court. In 2022, we served more than 9,000 people in Thurston and South Mason counties through mediation, through all of these services, basically. And that's been a 40% increase from 2021 to 2022. And we're on that trajectory this year of increase in services. Part of that in 2022, we had about 1,800 eviction resolution cases that impacted nearly 5,000 adults and children. Our services save taxpayers and local courts money by avoiding litigation or going into more formal services, like through the court system. We have at the DRC about 160 volunteers, including about 100 certified mediators, and they volunteer about 7,000 hours in our community last year. So for our grant application, we applied to fund our conflict resolution resource line. And basically what we have is conciliators who staff our phones. Folks can call in our conflict resolution resource line. They help with coaching and helping folks talk with them to figure out what kinds of solutions have they tried in conflict. We do also phone negotiation, and this is all at no cost to either party, because we look for grants to help us fund our conflict resource line. And then through this resource line is how we get folks into mediation or make referrals if we need to. Mediation is the next best step for people who need more intensive services than just conflict coaching. Our conflict resolution resource line is open 5 days a week from 9 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And all of these folks who run our conflict resolution resource line are volunteers and trained mediators. And there are 10 of them who work for 4-hour shifts to cover all 40 hours of the week. We've been working on capacity building over the last several years to meet increased demand for our services, which has increased even in the pandemic, especially in the pandemic because of housing eviction resolution services that we offer. And we've worked really hard to offer improved technology resources for our client staff and for volunteers. So thank you so much for considering funding our request, and happy to answer any questions. Councilmember Dahlhoff?
Yes, thank you, Elizabeth. Quick question. I know City of Tumwater has a contract with DRC for mediation for this request. Could you tell me how many of those clients that call in reside in Tumwater?
Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head of the proportion of all calls, how many of them are in Tumwater. I certainly can get you that answer and can email that to you today. But with respect to that contract, yeah, we have had, and we've executed on that contract. We actually have a contract with the City of Tumwater, the City of Lacey, very same thing. And now we're working on one with the City of Olympia. So what we've really seen are the cities step up to help fund mediation services for housing eviction resolution. We are executing on that contract. So thank you so much. And I'll get that answer to you as soon as I can.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Appreciate it.
So what was the request amount?
I believe it was for the same amount as last year. I think it's $2,500.
$4,000.
4,000 was what we requested for this year.
That's what I see on my table.
Great. Any other questions? Thank you so much.
All right, thank you very much. The next group that will be presenting will be ASHHO Cultural and Job Training Center. Krishita and Aaron, if you could unmute and turn on your camera.
I am unmuted. This is Erin Jones. We do not have a fancy PowerPoint. We're just going to share with you. My name is Erin Jones. I'm one of the other owners. Krishita is the founder, and we have been working together for the last, I think, almost 15 years now, doing work in this community. But the Cultural Center opened in August of 2020. Krishita and her staff have been providing meals, have donated over 7,500 meals to the Tumwater and Thurston County region over the last couple of years. She signed a lease. Our building is actually across the street on Little Rock from the Tumwater Costco. So I don't know how many of you have seen that facility, but she signed the lease in June of 2021. And we've been doing events there. We do a walk that I do a walk with Erin every first Saturday. We've been doing it for the last 2 years. We have a cultural bazaar that is there. We just had one at the beginning of this month. So we bring vendors from all over the region, not just from Thurston County, but people come from Pierce County and Lewis County. And we have a cultural vending space as well. We honor different heritage months, so Pacific Islanders, Native American folks. And really what we're looking for is resources to provide support to our young people in the area. There is not a place in our region that serves our Black and Brown and Indigenous young people, as well as our LGBTQIA plus young people, like in one space. And we have done the best we can in the last 2 years to really create a space that's welcoming to all of those people, and would like to provide some support to young people, but really don't have the financial resources to do that. And so we're looking at providing some support, whether that's mentorship or job training, preparing for kind of beyond the school day. I am a classroom teacher by trade, so I've been working with young people for the last 33 years. And Krishita and I are both parents of young people and have watched the struggle for them of finding their space in this community where they don't get to see a lot of role models who look like them. And so thinking about ways that we can get our young people in front of other Black and Brown folks that are working in state government, that are working in city government, that are working in businesses around our region, get them some exposure, but also create spaces for them to just be. There's not really a place here. I know my children were really lucky. They were at Timberline and they got really great athletics and really great music, but there wasn't spaces outside of school for them to just be And so both Krishida and I, as moms in the region, would really like to see our space as a space where students can come and just belong there. It's what ASHO really means, is to come and belong. And so we're asking for some resources. We've not gotten resources yet from this region and have been giving a lot to the region. And so we're asking for some money just so that we can do more for the young people in this community and really begin to connect the dots across the Lacey, Tumwater, Olympia area. But because we're located in Tumwater, we want to start there with providing support. So, and especially as you all know, our region, Tumwater, is becoming more diversified. I think because of the housing crisis up north, students are coming south. And I've done a lot of work with Tumwater School District. It is quickly diversifying ethnically. And we want to be prepared to serve those young people, especially. And we have a number of people who are involved in our center who are already teachers. They're working for Tumwater Public Schools. And so we have some natural partnerships already in community that we'd like to leverage with some resources. So that is our quick ask of you.
Any questions? Councilmember
Yeah.
Althauser.
Thanks. And thanks for your presentation and all the work you both do in the community. My question is the Cultural Center a nonprofit organization, or is it a for-profit entity, legally speaking?
It's actually both. And Krishida, I'm going to let Krishida share the details of that, but it's actually both.
Yes, so we
Krishida.
actually have a for-profit piece. That's what we started with because we didn't get our nonprofit status. So we have the catering and room rental that is ran completely separate business here. And then we also have our nonprofit, which is the ASHO Cultural and Job Training Center, really focused around community educational, like financial literacy, community issues, support, and then our hands-on interactive job training program and cultural celebration. So those are the three entities that are around the nonprofit that we're focused on: youth,
Okay.
education, cultural, and the job training program. So we have two in-house here.
And so those are legally distinct entities, and it's the
Yes.
nonprofit entity that's applying funds.
Yes,
Great.
the nonprofit, yes. So we did a lot of youth nights, and we really want to come back to really focusing on career connections. Like Erin, you already said it beautifully. But we need more buy-in and support from the city here to be able to really roll it out in the new year. Yes.
Thank you.
Councilmember Dalhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. And just for full disclosure, I serve on the board of ASHO and will be refraining from the vote for this particular entity.
Thank you. Any other questions?
All right, thank you. The next group will be the Tumwater Education Foundation. Justine. Do you mind checking to see if anybody's outside? Looks like I'm not seeing, we're a little slightly ahead here, so I'm not sure if we should delay or should we?
I'm just going
On
I think
this
he's like-
one,
What, Councilmember Swarthout, what was that?
yeah, this is another one. I'll have to recuse myself from this one, but I also realized that Justine was going to be going from her job and then hopefully getting to her house by 10:30 to be able to get online. So I think she may still be on her way, but she did intend to make the 10:30 timeline. So I think since we're running a bit ahead, I don't know, anyway, that's all I know.
Yeah, I think we can just come back to that. I don't think we have to stay in exact order if they're not here. We can put them at the end. So go ahead with the next one.
Okay. The next one is the Medical Equipment Bank, doing business as the Thurston County Council Aging. Steve Robinson.
Good morning, folks. I'm Steve Robinson. I'm the Vice President of the Area Council on Aging. And we have two elements that are part of our 501c3 nonprofit. There's Senior News, which goes to 18,000 subscribers every month. And then there's the Medical Equipment Bank. The Medical Equipment Bank has been doing work in these Tri-City area for the last 40 years. 18 of those have been in the basement of Woodlawn Cemetery, mortuary, I'm sorry. And we had that space for free. But the mortuary is expanding their business, and so they needed us to move on out, and we did. We're now located at 3537 Martin Way East. We will reopen on November 2nd. We're very popular with doctors and clinics in this area. We served 10,000 people last year. What we deal in is all kinds of medical equipment, wheelchairs, crutches, walkers, knee scooters, all kinds of things. And everything that people need who are disabled or who will fend for themselves or have been injured. And this particular grant we request is for $2,500 specifically for batteries for wheelchairs. The wheelchairs, the batteries are we will be providing only to the most severe, those who absolutely cannot afford their own batteries, and those who are particularly badly disabled. Those who have doctors' orders for wheelchairs and so forth. From our operation now, we anticipate that the number of people we're going to be serving is going to be very comparable, because even as we're closed, we've been getting 30 phone calls a day asking when we're going to reopen. We basically have a very low budget. We have no income other than a few grants and donations. We take the equipment from those who donate it. We fix it up, make it like as good as new as we can. We clean it up and so forth, and provide it at no charge. It's basically like a library system where we ask people to return the equipment once they are done with it. And again, we fix it up and make it as good as new as possible. We feel like it's a very important service to the community because people who are disabled often have no place else to turn. I'm one who has benefited from this service. When I had spinal fusion surgery, the doctors recommended that I go there, and I did. And we basically have volunteers. We just hired a part-time manager for the bank, the Medical Equipment Bank, and but other than that, it's all volunteer effort. And so when I was served very graciously, and it was equipment I really needed. And so we have our phone number is 456-8810. We staff that 20, if not in person, then by message phone 24 hours a day. Tumwater numbers, we estimate that the number of Tumwater citizens who we have helped is in the neighborhood of 1,500 people a year. We have a very outstanding board. I'm the vice president. Joyce Williams is the president, and we have several other particularly good, caring, and capable board members who oversee both the Senior News and the Medical Equipment Bank. Basically, that's all I have to say. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions?
I can say also that batteries typically cost anywhere from $200 to $500. And as I said, this particular grant would be spent on batteries for particularly dire circumstances.
Councilmember Swarthout?
Thank you, Mayor. So you said that your program serves 1,500 residents of Tumwater. So is that people that are accessing the medical bank then, that we've had 1,500 access that? That's what your request is about?
That's correct. And of course, the batteries would be available to all who come, but again, only to those who cannot afford it and those with particular bad conditions.
Yeah, it just seems like I apologize. Thank you for giving us those numbers. It just seemed 1,500. That must be how you stretch that. So just curious if that was all looped in on your regular program that you do for the aging then, or this is a side. Okay, all right.
Yeah, a total last year we served 10,000 people.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, thank you, Steve.
Thank you.
So we would like to go back then to the Tumwater Education Foundation. Justine has joined us. Justine, if you could unmute.
Good morning. Can you all hear me? Excellent.
Yes.
Great. Well, thank you for having me this morning. I apologize. I don't know if things were going faster and I was supposed to be online sooner. So thank you for having me this morning. My name is Justine Capra, and I'm the past president of the Tumwater Education Foundation, and I'm here to discuss our Principals Emergency Fund program. Our board members are all volunteer, and currently we have 4 board members, and we're actively recruiting. We have presented here before and described how in the past that the Tumwater Education Foundation has provided memorial scholarship opportunities for students that graduate from the Tumwater schools, and we also provide classroom enrichment grants. Our memorial scholarships honor students, families, and community members. The classroom enrichment grants funds projects, programs that are beyond classroom budgets, and students of all grade levels benefit from these grants. In 2016, the foundation expanded its scope to include the Principals Emergency Fund. This fund helps to remove common barriers of low-income students, maximizing their potential. The goal of this program is for principals to be able to see a need and meet a need. We continue to host fundraising breakfasts and are continually thankful for all the support of individuals and community who are helping to make this program so successful. Our next breakfast is on November 8th, and I am personally extending that invitation to all of you. If awarded this human service grant, the funds from the city of Tumwater will go directly towards the Principals Emergency Fund program. The money received will be allocated to each school district in the Tumwater School District. And then the principals of each school will be in charge, so to speak, of the money, and they'll be able to use the money to provide basic emergent needs such as clothing, medical care, food or shelter, or any barriers restricting the students from maximizing their full potential. We have modeled our program similar to the Olympia School District and the North Thurston School District Education Foundation's programs. And they have been very successful for many years. Our Principals Emergency Fund continues to fundraise annually for this program, as well as we continue to receive funds for various businesses, individuals, and we try to obtain other grant opportunities. We're so thankful to have seen the support of individuals and businesses since this fund began in 2016. We have some current expenditures from last year's Principals Emergency Fund that I wanted to share with you. I don't know if I have screen sharing capabilities, but I can also just do it verbally.
You can share if you want.
Okay. Can you see my screen with the colorful bar graph? I'll try to make it larger if I can. So we've worked now, this is going into, I believe, our second year of working with org support. So there are back end people that are taking care of data and statistics and other secretarial and clerical duties, which has been very helpful as boards. As you know, people can come and go off boards, and we want to make sure that we have good continuity on our board going forward. So they've been nice to compile some of this information. We don't have all the receipts still from all the principals from last year, but they broke it down into categories. And honestly, it's hard to break apart all of the emergent categories and to have actual clear markers to put them into the wheelhouse, because some things that are little, some things that are big. So these are the categories that we've come up with, and the largest percentage is fees. So again, any of these that you have questions on, I can answer, and some of them will have to go back to the specific receipts to get clarity, but fees was the biggest percentage at 29 or 19% total. Then there's other. Transportation is one of the highest costs. Clothing obviously is high, food, and then it goes down, utilities, housing, supplies, and medical. And again, we allow the principals to be in charge of how they allocate the funds, and they're really there on the line level to figure out what is the emergent need of the student. So that was the categories, and this is the schools. Let me stop rolling there. So our highest school this last calendar school year was Peter G. Schmidt, that had the highest need. And then it goes down Cascadia, Tumwater High, Black Hills, and then all the way down, as you can see. One of the things that we've noticed over the last few years is that some of the schools use some of the other funding sources that they have before they utilize our funding, because those have requirements. So they need to fulfill those requirements, and then they don't dip into our fund, and they use ours as like the last measure of when they can grab it when they have that need. We're still engaging in the schools. We're still trying to educate the principals and the counselors that if they run out of the allocated money, then they can ask our board if we have other monies available. We can always backfill their coffers. So we don't want them to feel like it's a spend it down and gone. So we're trying to tell them we have money. We're actively looking for more money. We're trying to get grant opportunities because we want to continue to meet those emergent needs for the students and help those principals identify those needs as fast as possible. Before I stop screen sharing, do you have anything on the graphs that you have any questions on?
Any questions? Councilmember Swarthout, did you have a question?
Oh, well, I just wanted, if Justine would share how much during COVID that we pushed out to the schools.
Yeah, at the beginning of COVID, we pushed out immediately $20,000 that went directly towards childcare expenses. And then we were able to backfill and still provide additional money that went out to emergent needs. Obviously, we identified that childcare was the biggest source that was needed at that time. And everybody has been impacted by COVID, but obviously kids are the huge number one focus of what our nonprofit is about. And since then, we did a virtual COVID fundraiser that year. And then last year we had our first in person. So we were able to have enough money in our resources at the beginning of the school year prior to our breakfast when COVID hit to be able to put that funding out, which we were really grateful to be able to do. We're looking at other initiatives as this year goes forward. We've got this great, strong, active board, and then with the back support of our org support organization to help us, that we're looking at other initiatives to potentially continue to focus on as well. Are there any questions? I covered that kind of fast.
Great. Well, thank you, Justine. Appreciate the presentation.
Excellent. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you. The next group that will be presenting is Safe Place with Ryan Cole and Wendy Martinez.
Hey, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. My name is Ryan. I'm the development manager at Safe Place. I'm joined by my wonderful colleague, Wendy Martinez, who is our communications coordinator. And we are just going to give a brief presentation about our request for funds. To start, Safe Place is an Olympia area nonprofit that serves everyone, regardless of location, whose mission is to prevent and end sexual and domestic violence. We meet our mission by providing and running myriad programs, including but not limited to a 24-hour helpline, housing program, which includes relocation services for survivors, a confidential shelter, which I believe is the only one in Thurston County, legal advocacy, youth prevention education, and a lot more. We are requesting funds to help us in our mission and to support survivors. We are asking for money to help provide fuel cards to survivors, mechanical repairs for their vehicles, and gift cards for youth, all within the city of Tumwater. So fuel cards serve a purpose to help survivors reach safety, but also to meet obligations to help them reach safety. For example, to help them get to a court hearing, potentially for a domestic violence protection order, or to get to our business office to meet one-on-one with an advocate during our drop-in hours or via appointment. Mechanical repairs for cars, again, kind of eliminate that transportation barrier. And that consists of any type of repair. So it could be routine maintenance like an oil change or new windshield wipers, etc. And gift cards for youth will help pay for essential items for clothes and school supplies, because I think, as we know, domestic and sexual violence does not just affect the survivor, it affects their whole family and their loved ones as well.
So these services include, like Ryan mentioned, survivor advocacy, our only emergency shelter for domestic violence, housing resources, and more. For survivors in Tumwater that may be 1 or 2 resources away from accessing our services, this funding will allow us to focus our efforts on them by partnering with local mechanics to help with car repairs and to access essential needs and advocacy from Safe Place. Survivors in Tumwater will always be able to access Safe Place services, but this funding will only increase the amount of survivors we can reach and will specifically aim to help Tumwater residents.
So kind of a quick breakdown of our costs and what we're requesting would be on average 15 mechanical repairs, 32 fuel cards, and 28 gift cards for a total of $6,000.
And so in 2022, Safe Place served nearly 2,000 survivors across all direct service programs. Safe Place's 24-hour helpline fielded nearly 4,000 calls. Safe Place is on pace to shatter those numbers in 2023, having served 1,569 survivors through August and having answered 2,980 calls through August as well. The need is great, and Safe Place services are often the lifeline survivors need to reach safety and stability. We're humbled to help Tumwater residents in times of crisis, and we're grateful for the opportunity to apply for funding to help in our mission to prevent and end sexual and domestic violence.
I think that's it. Any questions for us?
Councilmember Dalhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Ryan, I know I'm fast, but I'm not that fast. When you listed the amount for each, could you do that again for me, please?
Yeah, of course. So we kind of budgeted for 15 mechanical repairs at $200 a piece, 32 fuel cards at $50 a piece, and 28 gift cards for general supplies at $50 a piece.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Any other questions? Your hand is still up. Thank you. Any other questions? Great. Well, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you. The next group is the Garden Raised Bounty with Claire and Jenna.
Hi, can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Great.
we can hear you.
I'm going to share my screen. Actually, hold on a second. Okay. Hi, everyone. I want to thank you all for this opportunity to speak with you all today and to thank the City of Tumwater specifically for your continued support of the Grub Garden Project. My name is Claire Fulman, and presenting with me today is Jenna Kemp, and we're going to share with you a little overview of Garden Raised Bounty, or GRUB's work, and specifically the work of our Grub Garden Project. You can see my presentation? Great. Okay. So GRUB stands for Garden Raised Bounty and is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. You can see on this slide our mission and our vision. GRUB works at the intersection of food, education, and health systems to grow healthy food, people, and communities. One of the seeds that eventually grew into what GRUB is today was planted back in 1993 in the form of the Kitchen Garden Project, which brought gardens to low-income households. The Kitchen Garden Project has since evolved into the Grub Garden Project. The Grub Garden Project serves low-income and food-insecure individuals and families in our community. We provide custom-made home gardens to recipients and continue to provide them the support needed to help them find success in their gardens over the long term. As you can see by this slide, gardens provide an abundance of benefits that go beyond the food that is grown in the gardens. Since 1993, the Grub Garden Project has built almost 3,200 gardens for low-income households. The generous funds from the City of Tumwater this year, or last year, helped support our staff as we reviewed applications, discussed custom garden builds with applicants, coordinated the garden builds, and provided classes, trainings, and workshops on gardening. And we were able to build 5 custom gardens in Tumwater this year, offering garden recipients various starts and seeds, rich soil, other gardening miscellaneae like calendars, garden literature, tools, etc., as well as the support needed for ongoing success. We connect with all of our gardeners on a regular basis after the garden builds to check in and to try to address any concerns or questions. And we conduct evaluations after the garden build season to see how well we've been doing. These Tumwater gardens served a total of 19 Tumwater residents and provided them with the opportunity to grow over $500 worth of produce. Over the course of the 2023 garden build season, which started in April and continued through June, the volunteers, staff, and military veterans that make up the Grub Garden Project team joined together to build a total of 35 gardens for low-income households in our region. The Grub Garden Project also helps support 3 community gardens, including 2 at 2 different low-income apartments and 1 at the Madigan Hospital Soldiers Recovery Unit on JBLM. We also hosted an array of workshops and classes teaching various tricks and tips on gardening success. And so Jenna here has a quick story to share about a particular Tumwater garden.
Hi, yeah, I'm going to talk to you about Alina. Alina was one of the garden recipients this year that lives in Tumwater. And when she originally applied for her garden, she had 2 main hopes. One was to see her family engaged and active in the garden. And because of the skyrocketing cost of food, she really wanted to use the garden to supplement the food, her food, with healthier options for her and her family. And when we were able to check in with Alina at the end of the growing season this summer, she reported that not only did it provide better food for her family, but it also ended up providing a lot more. And in her own words, she said, "This garden that you've provided me has given me more than a food opportunity. It's hope when I feel like I've lost everything. This garden bed was here for me when I felt like I had nothing. On the days that I felt my lowest, the garden was there for me."
That's such a sweet story. Thanks for sharing that, Jenna. And here you can see other additional quotes from our gardeners, just praising the work that the Grub Garden Project does and how it has positively impacted them. And that's it. Thank you everyone for your ears, and thank you City of Tumwater so much for your generous ongoing support of the Grub Garden Project and for this opportunity to continue this incredible legacy together. Our request this year was for $4,000 to provide even more gardens, trainings, and services to low-income residents in the coming garden build season, this coming spring. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have at this time.
Councilmember Dalhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Claire and Jen. I appreciate that presentation and how you broke out the Tumwater peeps. Do you have an estimate for what potentially these funds, like how many would be Tumwater?
Yeah, Jenna, you can back me up here a bit, but I think last time we did the calculations was about $500 per garden, which I don't think has accounted for inflation. We haven't done those numbers too recently, and costs have gone up a bit, but we're still kind of estimating about $500 per garden. So theoretically, $4,000 would bring 8 gardens to Tumwater residents.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Does that sound right, Jenna?
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks, Claire.
Yeah. And then, you know, there's also the gardening workshops and classes and trainings, which I don't think are necessarily budgeted into that $500 per garden breakdown, but those are just kind of offered to like everyone pretty much. And then there are specific support options for garden recipients, which I think is budgeted in that $500 per garden breakdown.
Any other questions? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just going to ask if there were any other questions too.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate the presentation.
Yeah, thanks so much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. The next group is the Family Support Center, South Sound. Maya?
Hi, it's Maya, and I am with Family Support Center of South Sound. Absolutely, it's okay, it gets everybody. And I am looking at one screen and you guys are on this one. So if I'm occasionally doing this, just bear with me. I think most of us are used to the double screen action at this point in time. I am going to share my screen. Hopefully everything works out well, technology being what it is. Okay. I am hoping what you are seeing is the beginning of a PowerPoint. Is that correct? Thumbs up for folks that are seeing that? Okay, excellent. So get her started here. All right, I am with South Sound, or the Family Support Center of South Sound. For those of you who aren't familiar with our organization, I'm going to give the briefest of overviews, and then we'll get into the Family Resource Center.
Maya, this is Leetta really quickly. You're not in presentation mode. I don't know if you wanted to be in presentation mode.
Let's see. You know what? We'll go from current slide. I'm not sure what's going on. Is it going to bother everybody too much if it's a little funky? Can you guys just ignore that left screen?
That's good.
This is where technology is always interesting, but you guys get a preview of what I'm doing. So, but thank you for noticing that, Leetta. I appreciate it. Always looking out. But so you can see here that our mission is working together to strengthen all families and survivors. Let's see. We envision a community where all families and survivors are valued, safe, supported, healthy, and hopeful. For those of you who are not aware, we were founded in 1992. We were really started by a group of child care advocates who wanted to make the best future for all of the children in our community. And they recognized that to do that, the best way that they could come up with was to strengthen that entire family unit to make sure that kiddos had as much support around them in their family as they possibly could get. They also really recognized that having a single family go to 5 or 6 different places to get all of their needs met can be stressful, often re-traumatizing for families, and honestly just very time consuming. So they really wanted to make Family Support Center a one-stop shop for families in need. And we have continued on with that kernel and all of the work that we have done in the subsequent 30 plus years. We offer comprehensive and individualized support services for families with children and survivors. Now, we do have 5 pretty strong, robust programs, but really what I'm going to talk about today is our Family Resource Services program. That is what we did this application for and is frankly the oldest program at Family Support Center. This one is available to any family in Thurston County. Most of our other programs, there's eligibility requirements, i.e. they're homeless or they're a survivor of domestic violence. And this one is any family that is in crisis can access this program. We offer eviction prevention, a lot of basic need items, diapers, formula, hygiene supplies. We do crisis intervention. A lot of times we'll mitigate with the landlord. Say if somebody is having past rent issues, maybe they're a few months overdue, we can work with that landlord to kind of maybe get that renter a little bit more time, or just kind of help them navigate some sticky situations. We do offer some childcare resources through this, mostly connecting families to the Working Connections childcare subsidy. And this program isn't heavily funded, usually hasn't been heavily funded. And so pretty much the biggest role of the staff in this program, which are our resource navigators, is literally helping families find and access different resources in our community. What church might be able to help them with a car repair? Who in our community, what store might be willing to give them a discount on something? It's really helping a family reduce their other costs to make sure that they can stay in their home. Now, this is the only program at Family Support Center that is for families who are not literally homeless, and that's according to some specific definitions that come out through the federal government. For families who are literally homeless, that means that's category 1, and that means they are sleeping in a tent or their car or in an encampment somewhere. There's a lot more funding for those types of families. Families who are couch surfing or are staying on their friends in a friend's garage, or maybe they're in a hotel because they still have a little bit of savings, but it's almost gone. There is not a lot of resources for them to try and secure their own housing. And that's where the Family Resource Services comes in. And one thing that I really appreciate about what we're able to do through this program is our navigators can meet people where they're at. We are on site at the North Thurston Youth and Resource Center once a week. We go to the Yelm Resource Fair. We are happy to meet people in a library or their children's school, just wherever is comfortable, to kind of take away one of those barriers, which is transportation. And considering we're on the west side, that's a couple bus rides for folks. So it's a lot better if we can meet somebody where they're at when necessary. I will say that last year, the Family Resource Services program served just over 1,100 folks. So that's parents and children, or about 350 households. About 10% of our average services, or of the services that we do as an agency, are for Tumwater, and the FRS program is not an exception to that. About 10% of the folks we see have Tumwater listed as a residence. I will say that each year, we have about 40% new families accessing this particular program. And so folks who have never had an eviction notice before, folks who are struggling for the first time as all of the costs around us skyrocket, they reach out to us. So we're going to say about 500 folks a year are newly coming to the program. We do distribute over 20,000 basic need items each year, like I mentioned earlier. And topical to this request, which is $4,000, we worked that out to about $160 for 25 different families, and that would be helping with perhaps a rent issue, making sure that dad's got new boots for his job, just little things that make families able to keep on doing what they're doing to be able to pay their rent so that they can stay in their home. So that's always the ultimate goal, is to make sure people stay housed. And I broke down the math a little bit. So 25 of the 350 families that we serve each year is about 7% of the total that we see. And so that is the cost breakdown for you to be able to look at, for those of you who like the numbers. And I think that that's pretty much it. I will say the one reason that we're always having a need for this extra funding for this program is it is our smallest program. And prevention has not been at the forefront of people's minds when we're talking about homelessness. And it is easier and cheaper to keep somebody housed, and a heck of a lot less traumatic on the families to keep them housed. And so we really do try and make sure that this program can be as strong as it is, even though it's a little one. It certainly does a lot for the families that come and seek our services. So I will end with the thank you, although you can see the rest on the left side apparently, so those numbers are still up there if there's a need, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Great. Councilmember Dollhoff.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a question, but for full disclosure, I do serve as the co-chair of the Family Support Center of South Sound.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments? Great, thank you so much. We appreciate the presentation.
Thank you. The last presentation is the Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Washington and Mariah Chandler.
Sorry, Mariah, we can't hear you. I don't know if it's just me.
No, we can't hear.
Okay.
How about now? Can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we can hear you now.
Yep.
All right. I'm Mariah Candler with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Southwest Washington, the program director here at our agency. Our agency serves Thurston, Mason, Lois, Grays Harbor, and Pacific counties. But I'll be specifically talking about, of course, the programs that are that we have in Tumwater. So our mission at Big Brothers Big Sisters is to create and support one-to-one mentoring relationships that ignite the power and promise of youth. So everything that we do is one-to-one mentoring with one youth we call littles, like a little brother or little sister, and one mentor that we call bigs, like a big brother or big sister. It's all that one-to-one mentoring, and it is all about igniting the power and promise that youth have inherently in them, and igniting the potential of where they want to go and what they want to do. So all the pictures highlighted today are pictures of youth who are in the Tumwater area. This one here is Maggie and Jessica, and they were at an activity with one of our workplace partners, Naked Prosthetics, learning about the production and technology behind creating different prostheses. We have three main programs. One is our community-based program. This is a program where adult mentors are matched with youth ages 5 to 18. Once matched in our program, we actually will continue to support the match until the youth, until their 24th birthday, if they all want to continue in our program. Matches meet 2 to 4 times a month. We have a minimum of a 1-year commitment, but our goal is always through the youth's high school graduation. We want to see these kids graduate. These matches are supported by Big Brothers Big Sisters staff and the parent guardian of the youth. So far in 2023, we have 3 Tumwater students who are matched in community-based matches within our program. With these matches, we do career-connected activities that explore different career interests. We partner with local businesses and individuals, and those are open to all families, youth, and mentors in our program. We want to be able to highlight some new and interesting things. This activity here was a career connected activity at 8 Arms Bakery down in Tumwater, exploring bakery, what it means to be a part of that career. Our next program is our site-based mentoring program. This picture here is at our site last year at Peter G. Schmidt Elementary School. The matches were doing a activity about engineering. They're pretty excited about that. We partner with the Timberland Regional Library. They come and partner with us and do activities with us as well. And we work together with that partnership to bring the students and connect them. So hopefully they'll continue to connect to that resource at the library. Site-based mentoring is a program that uses adults and high school mentors, mentoring elementary and middle school youth. They meet at the school site 45 minutes to an hour once a week during the school year. And the activities are facilitated by our staff. So our staff go weekly, facilitate activity. We have a curriculum that we've created. Our curriculum explores different areas. Each week, we like to overlap as many areas as we can, but we're at least hitting one of our curriculum focuses. So the first one that we like to highlight is Big Brothers Big Sisters term called JEDI, and that is Justice, Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion. We also do activities in STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, SEL, so social emotional learning, and career connections. And so far in 2023, we have 8 Tumwater students that are served in our site-based mentoring program. Those programs start back up in the fall, so we are just starting back up at Peter G. Schmidt. Now that the students are back in school and school staff have capacity, once things have slowed down a little bit, have capacity for us to start our program. So we'll be starting back up here shortly and making more matches at those sites. Another site that we have in Tumwater is at the Tumwater Boys and Girls Club. And our third program that we have that serves students in the Tumwater area is the Career Mentoring Exploration Program. So this program highlights high school students. They're matched with adult mentors working within a specific career industry. They have monthly meetings for 2 hours. The programs are facilitated by industry experts, and our staff are there as well, supporting and planning those each program. And then at the end of the school year, the students have the opportunity to apply for a paid internship and for scholarships. So in 2023, we served 3 Tumwater students in the Career Mentoring Exploration Program. This year, 2023-2024 school year, our Career Mentoring Exploration programs are architecture, distribution and logistics with Harbor Foods, finance and real estate with multiple partners, construction and property management with multiple partners. So those are currently enrolling students, high school students who are interested in those careers. They don't even have to say, oh, I definitely want to be an architect. They could just be, hey, I'm kind of interested in it. This is a great opportunity for them to learn about what it means to be in the industry, to explore different opportunities. Even if they come out of it and say, hey, I know now that's not really for me, that we think that is a fantastic win for them to be able to do that in our program, instead of going to school for 4 years and have a lot of debt and then realize they didn't really want to do that. So it really is about exploring. So if you know of any high school students, all of our programs are completely free, and we are enrolling high school students for this Career Mentoring Exploration Program currently. Some other interests that students have had that we are currently exploring partnerships with other businesses and organizations. If you have a connection in one of these industries, we'd love to talk. But students have really expressed an interest in technology, computer programming, marketing design, film and music production, and climate and environmental changes and impacts. So those are ones we're exploring for next school year. Outcomes of mentoring. So this here is a quote by one of our students in the Career Mentoring Exploration Program this last year. He said, it's a wonderful opportunity to see what a workplace is like in a field I'm interested in and see the cool technology. And I've had a great time with Drew, that's his mentor. He's a friend and a teacher. This program, the Career Mentoring Exploration Program, is designed to just be that one school year. And then we let each match, the youth, the mentor, and the parent guardian, decide how they want to continue after that year. So we talked to each of them. This year, every one of our matches wanted to continue to be in contact to some degree, which is awesome. We love to see that, because really our goal is that these students have somebody to reach out to in the future, and they have that connection in the business community. Other outcomes of mentoring is that it supports youth building their social and emotional skills, increases the youth's confidence and sense of belonging. We do an interview with the youth before we match them in a program as we're enrolling them, and we ask them, why are you interested in this? What do you want to gain out of it? And we have had more and more students post-COVID who are self-identifying that they need support socially and emotionally. They're self-identifying social anxiety. They're self-identifying as needing somebody to help them get out of the house and maybe do new activities. And so they're coming to us saying, hey, I want to do this. And what a great opportunity that we and our mentors have to be able to support them in that. We want to ignite potential educational career and goals and interests, and then support the students through that. Every one of the youth in our programs have a Big Brothers Big Sisters dedicated. We call them a match sports specialist. Basically, it's a coach. And we do monthly conversations, benchmarking different areas of development, goals that they have throughout the time that they're with us. So it really is not, we don't just throw people in a room and say, go have fun. It is supported by our staff. There are benchmarking and trainings that our staff hit so that we continue to grow and support these youth where they want to go. Talked a little bit already about the exploration of these different areas. We see a reduction of risk and an increase of protective factors for youth in our programs. And here's some different ways to support. The funding that we specifically asked for was to expand our site-based programs within the Tumwater School District. We've been in communication with Tumwater Middle School in the past. They were interested in having a program. So it really comes down to funding, being able to support those staff who are at each one of those meetings, who are creating the curriculum, who are doing the coaching, and continue support of the students. Individually, there's plenty of other ways to get involved as well, listed here on this slide. But the funding we specifically asked for was for that. And here's my program information as well. If anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions? I don't see any, so thank you very much for your presentation.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a lovely rest of your day.
So thank you for all the folks who presented today. The request for the committee is a decision on how to allocate the 9 different requests across $15,000. In the past, it looks like, past 4 years, it looks like that allegations were based on a combination of we've never had a time when we didn't have more requests than we had funding, but there were different weights given to different objects. So I think that's really the substance of the discussion with the council and the mayor today.
Brad, can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Do we have the table that we've used in the past years of the members of the committee and the nonprofits so we can go around, because we play around with the amount of money we have and how to divide it up?
We don't have that table, but we can create one very quickly while you discuss amongst yourselves perhaps the priorities. That would be helpful.
Okay, I guess, I mean, starting off, I think in the past years we've done this, it's always been, right, the focus for me has been Tumwater based, right? Tumwater services. So then that's one of the lenses I use. So, I mean, if we're gonna, does anyone want to start off? Mayor, Michael, Eileen? I have one that I'm willing to remove from the list, if that, does anyone want to start there?
Well, what was that? What would that be?
The one I had some questions is regarding dispute resolution center, since we already have a contract, and I'm wondering if we could amend that contract to put in this conflict resolution resource line. Otherwise, that would be one that I would feel comfortable pulling and not taking funds from the human services program funding. Right, because we have a $50,000 contract with them that I feel like that could be better used that way than $4,000 from the human services program when we only have $15,000 to give out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one thought, right? So.
Any comments on that?
I think I would have to agree with that one because we do at 50,000, you know, it's quite a significant amount. So I would agree with Councilmember Dalhoff.
Is the contract we have with them, that's for the landlord tenant resolution contract?
Correct.
Which has not, we haven't exhausted all those funds historically, right? There's usually a carryover.
We're 0 for 2. Like the 2 recommendations of we're 0 for 2. So there should be there better be funds in there, right?
Yes, so they're billing at an even amount across the contract. So yes, there's funding available.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. It makes our math problem a lot easier on this end too.
Right, so would that be an easy modification, Brad, Mayor, and Lisa, to amend that contract to add conflict resolution in addition to the mediation?
Yeah, and that I'm sure that we can have that discussion with Karen on how hard that would be to adjust that contract.
Thank you, Mayor. So that was the first one, right? Like not taking away from DRC, but trying to find another solution to still support them and not take away from these ones.
Right, and making a note.
Thank you. So if I had that, then I would divide the rest left, right? 8 by the 15,000. That was my next thought process without weighing, right? Just take the remaining, divide it by the 15,000. So it'd be 1875 each.
I'm trying to think if there's any projects on here where if they didn't get the full amount, they wouldn't be able to accomplish the objective. And it seems like they're all scalable in that sense, with the exception of maybe the rebuilding Thurston County one. But Pete also talked about how they're going to use matching funds for that anyway. So there's probably also support that could help fill that gap. But the rest of them, does anyone sort of, Vieta or Eileen or Debbie or staff, is it, anyone sort of see anything that jumps out as something that would be not scalable and therefore unable to accomplish with a diminished amount?
I agree with you. I think how they all presented, they were all scalable, right? So yeah.
I guess the only one I had, since it's a new ask and it's not, was the medical bank. I'm just kind of confused about that one. As far as them having access to other resources. So that was, I guess, that's my question too, is that not trying to, they gave a very compelling presentation, so I really do appreciate that. But that was the only one I did have a question as far as funding that one this time.
Any discussion on that?
You know, I hear what Councilmember Swarthout's saying, and I don't disagree. And I also know, as a caregiver to someone who's disabled, who has the ability to get what they need purchasing, that I can't, like, it's for $200 to $500 for a battery. And for those who can't get a battery, to deny someone the ability to still be a part of our community and have that mobility accessory, I can't say no to that one. I can't.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, thank you.
Right? It's not like anyone's going and is like, hey, this died, I don't feel like getting it. It's like, I have no other option for this battery, right? So I think, and that's still scalable, right? They wouldn't get everything, but if it could change someone's life for their mobility and independence, and the fact that they do 10,000 clients last year and are averaging around 1,500 people on Tumwater, like, I hear you, and I don't want to say no to that one.
But is that really 1,500 that were served through the medical bank? Because that, I find that would be astounding. So, so I was questioning on those numbers, or that's the people that participate, because they are through the Thurston County Council on Aging. So that's a big umbrella agency as well. So, so I guess that's where I'm questioning their access to resources, because they, as far as being covered by a large nonprofit like that already. But again, when then we do have other nonprofits that are asking as well. So, but just throwing it out there.
Yeah, valid. And I think buying a couple batteries, I think, is worth it.
Okay.
And I don't disagree with you, right? So I'm open, but I also don't want to say no to that one. So
yeah. Okay.
So there's sort of two options on the screen. Lieta, I think what you had talked about was like a straight division between the amount of money we have and the number of applicants we have, which I think is column F. And then column E, I would describe as a proportional division, where we have for about 43% of the amount of applications we received. So you take the amount of that was requested and then take 43% of that. So it's more proportional based on how much was asked for and need in that sense.
I like that one too.
Yeah, that's a good
that's
one
weighted.
too.
It has, so you start with the equal, right? And then that gives some more equity to it. So I like that one.
Yeah, column E makes sense to me. Debbie, do you have any thoughts on how to approach this? Because
column
you're
E
a
makes
voting member of
sense.
this, right?
Yeah, I believe I am. I normally don't vote, but yes, I probably am on this one. I've lost practice of voting. So yeah, I like that one, and just, making it more of a round number to, which would make sense, but yeah, that would give us a round ballpark figure of what it would be.
To clarify, are you suggesting that column E, we kind of round up or down here and there to make them more even numbers?
Yeah,
or
instead of doing 91 cents or 13 cents or 96 cents, making it a round number.
If we have a general agreement from the council and the mayor on the approach, the staff can tweak the numbers too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm in support of E because it has the equality and the equity lens to it.
So by way of process, though, we had you're in support of E with the exception of row
2 and
5. And Eileen, you're in support of row E with the exception of
10.
10?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
And
So
that would be not voting on those particular ones.
correct. So we would need to do a motion for the slate, not including 2, 5, or 10, and would then need to do a second motion for 2 and 5 and a second motion for 10. Is that
correct?
That sounds reasonable, complicated, but reasonable. and this is not a bad thing, but all of council members are so involved and active in nonprofits, just for the public to know, that we always try to do what's fair and equitable. But sometimes it just makes it a little bit more a bit more of a struggle to support what we do on boards and commissions and then wear the other hat of funding. So
Thank you, Mayor, for that. The one thing is we have, conferred with Karen, and technically Eileen and I could vote, right? Because we're not personally gaining from this, but I prefer, and so does Eileen, just that transparency and abstaining from those portions.
And I appreciate that too. And so Brad has just fixed the numbers in column G that would give the actual amounts of rounded. So if that looks definitely doable there. All right, so we will do the first motion. So Michael, I'm going to leave it to you because you don't have to refrain from either one. So
can you scroll to the left slightly so I can see the names and associated with the rows? Perfect. So I will move that we approve the funding amount to be spent on out of the Human Services funding allocation for rows 3, 6, 7, 8, and 9.
Yes.
As designated in column G.
I will second.
Great. And then we will make this part of this table part of the document so that the motion makes sense when that happens.
This will be in the minutes, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So that has been seconded. Any discussion on the motion? I do not believe so. With that, I'll ask for the vote for those who are eligible. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And no opposition because we all said yes. All right, so now we'll do the ones that the two.
So I move that we approve the funding allocation for rows 2 and 5, column G.
I'll second that motion.
All right, so it's been moved and seconded. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Right.
I will
Motion ca-
abstain.
Yes, and motion carries. All right, last one.
I move that we approve the funding allocation for row 10 in the amount designated in column G.
Second.
All right, it's been moved in second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I abstain from.
Okay, motion carries. Thank you very much. All right. So then we will go ahead and I do not think we have to do any more action at the moment on those, and staff will then go ahead and make the contacts.
Yep. So staff can figure out whether it's.
Perfect.
We'll wait.
All right. So now we will move to budget amendment number 1, and Troy, go ahead and do, you have the floor, and I will be right back.
Would you like me to wait for you, Mayor?
It'll take me 1 minute, yes, if you don't mind.
Okay, no problem. Well, while we're waiting, I'll just say this is great. My first question to you all was going to be, do you want the 5-minute version or the 20-minute version? Because I thought we were going to be afternoon already when this started. So I will, unless you have tons of questions, I promise we will not go into the lunch hour, and you'll be able to get yourself something to eat. I know some of you are working. Start sharing my screen while we're waiting. You're seeing a presentation?
See your slides. It's not in presentation mode.
Okay, you're gonna get there. How about now?
There you go. Perfect.
Okay, great. There's usually a bright green square around the screen and it's not there, so I was a little bit worried for a second.
All right, thank you. Sorry for the delay.
No worries. It's kind of a long meeting. So,
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you all for the opportunity to present today. I made this pretty short on purpose. Again, thinking we're going to have more time restrictions, so this is good. Anyway, we're going to start with why do we need an amendment? And as we know, budgets are estimates and they're based on projections. And when we build a budget, especially a biennial budget, we start 6 to 9 months ahead of time before the budget is adopted. And so, you know, in a biennial budget, we're looking out almost 3 years trying to estimate our revenues and expenses. And when we adopted, well, anytime we adopt a budget, but specifically the current budget last December, you know, the year is still going. And so we're again estimating what our revenues and expenditures will be through the end of the year. And we're never going to be able to get that precise. And so right when we start off, of course, ending fund balance for 2022 becomes beginning fund balance for 2023. So right away, you know, at some point during the year or the biennium, we're going to need an amendment for sure. And then I also just wanted to mention that there's a lag time in financial reporting. You know, when a business closes out their month, it takes them time to do all their accounting and bookkeeping and remit their taxes to the state. And then it takes the state time to process all of that and figure out what our share is and send us our money. And so, you know, we don't know until February or March very well, how we ended up. So, and then in addition, things change over time, of course. Sometimes we are presented with opportunities that we might want to take advantage of. Sometimes we run into some challenges, and sometimes we just come up with some ideas that might make good sense to do. And we'll give some examples of all those. But for that, let's talk a little bit, very briefly, how we finished 2022. And the answer is pretty good with some exceptions. Revenue was higher than anticipated. Sales tax continued to be strong. New construction, very good. B&O tax and building permits, I think were an all-time high last year. So that was all good news. And then on the expense side, we came in under budget. And that's a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it makes us look good on paper, right? But some of those expenses don't necessarily just go away. They just get deferred until this biennium. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of those. And it was primarily things like the labor market that caused some of these expenses to be low. When we have a hard time hiring staff, that creates salary savings. So again, good and bad there. The supply chain, there was a lot of things we wanted to buy, but they either weren't available or weren't available timely enough to get them during the last biennium. So that's an example where those costs are just going to be, in many cases, moved to the next biennium. And then a high demand for contractors can make it, and has made it, difficult to complete projects on time. So now we'll talk about some of the examples I mentioned, unexpected opportunities. And a great example of this is the Talichan Homes project. You may recall this was a grant we received from the Department of Commerce in partnership with Habitat for Humanity. And this was the CHIP grant, Connecting Housing to Infrastructure program. And it helped us reimburse Habitat for Humanity for water and sewer and storm infrastructure in this low-income development. So the council, you may recall, approved the receipt of the grant and approved the contract between the parties, but we haven't made it official in the budget yet. And so we just need to do that. And that's because we need the official expenditure authority in the budget. Some of the challenges that we've been facing. I used an example here of the Water Resources South Puget Sound Community College lease. When we started talking about this lease, I think it was early 2022, the thinking was that there's all of these state agencies who have people working from home, not using their office space. There's going to be lots of office space available in Tumwater, and it's going to be super cheap. And we found that not to be true. It was much less office space available than we thought. The cost was much more than we anticipated. And then the construction to get the space into a usable condition is much more than we thought it was going to be. So that'll be one of the more details coming forward on that. Another challenge is our liability insurance. And the graph kind of says it all. I don't know how well you can see it on your screen, but since 2020, our insurance costs have gone up by $500,000. It's 288%. And this isn't because we've done anything wrong or had a humongous number of claims or anything. It's just they've cited things like, oh, it's the industry, it's the times, it's police reform, it's all these kind of things. We're actually going to work on getting WCIA in here to do a presentation at a council work session so that they can better explain, better than I can, why our costs have skyrocketed over the last few years. Oh, and I was going to mention on that one also, you can see the budget trend line starts to follow the actual expense line. In 2021, it was just a little more of a blip, and then 2022, it went way up. And so when we did the budget for 23 and 24, I remember these conversations that Bill and I had where we said, let's budget really high, and then we'll probably come in under, and that'll be great. So we budgeted what we thought was really high, and then the insurance came in even higher. So our crystal ball didn't quite work. We're getting it tuned up right now. And then some unexpected things happened. The arson fire at the brewmaster's house earlier this year. Now, granted, this is something we're going to be made mostly whole on because the insurance is going to pay for it. But it's a large expenditure that we had to make, and just can't plan for things like that. And this is another example too, where City Council approved an emergency order. You approved the contract, but we need to make it official on the budget for the expenditure authority piece of it. And another much smaller example, a fire door got ran into, I believe, and had to be fixed. Another one of those things where it just has to be done. And then sometimes we come up with changes that make sense. This one might not be the best example, the kitchen portion of it. Some of the fire expenses we were kind of holding off on a little bit, awaiting the outcome of the RFA. Obviously that didn't happen, so now we've got to catch up on a few things. The kitchen was old and outdated, and the stove wasn't working well. We had some windows at T2 that needed to be replaced, and then flooring at T1. And then on the police side of things, we built a new sergeant office, and we're still working on getting a carport, not a whole like building, but just a kind of a mobile car. I don't know how mobile it is. Anyway, some sort of car cover for police vehicles, because where some of them are parked, there's trees that drip sap on them and make a mess. And then vehicles. This specific example is for the TMPD, and an example of supply chain issues. The TMPD has been trying to buy a couple of pickups for park maintenance for the last 2 years, and they simply haven't been available. And we got notification about 2 weeks ago that they're available, and they needed an answer back within 7 days, or they were going to give them to someone else. So we took them. They're ordered, and I'm not sure if they'll be here. I think they'll be here by the end of the year. But anyway, example of a supply chain and an inflation thing, because these are about 150% more than they were 2 years ago, cost-wise. And an example of that cost that we would have liked to have had 2 years ago being just kind of kicked forward to this biennium. Councilmember Swarthout, you have a question?
Yes, thank you. Are these the new ones, the Lightnings, the electric trucks? Is that what we are on? And how many we're purchasing? 2? Is that what you said?
Yes. Unfortunately, these are not the Lightnings, because the Lightning right now only comes in the F-150 or the half-ton version.
Oh, okay.
What they needed for these purposes was the F-250 and F-350 versions. I think those are going to be available in the future, but right now they're not.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Sure. Okay, and so what are our next steps? I told you I kept this short, and I did. So we're going to continue this party in a couple weeks, because Budget and Finance Committee is always a good time. And we will meet again and come to you with more information and numbers and all kinds of good stuff. And then on November 21st, we will do a presentation to the full council. We'll also hold a public hearing, and then if we think we're all good with it, we can do schedule the adoption for that same day, or if you'd rather, we could schedule the adoption for December 5th. And Councilmember Dolhoff, you have a question?
Yes, thank you, Troy. So in this timing, I have in my updates with the mayor and Administrator Parks talking about some potential amendments I would like to make, assuming I have the votes right and the support. When does that fit in to this process?
If you could get those in as soon as possible, because we're putting together numbers now, and yeah, just as soon as possible would be helpful.
I would love to email you my list. I will do that this week.
Okay.
And they won't be a surprise to Administrator Parks or the mayor, because I've been talking about this for a while. And I will also include them on the email.
Perfect. All right. That was the last slide I had. So do we have any other questions?
Any other questions?
Councilmember Swarthout, I see your microphone is off. Did you just forget to mute or did you?
No, I'm sorry. I just didn't make myself off again. Sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Just want to make sure you didn't have a question.
Good. Well, we will be receiving more information and having another meeting soon. So thank you, Troy.
Thank you.
And let's see. So any additional items to our meeting? Nope. Perfect. Okay, with that, we are adjourned and thank you, everyone. I really appreciate it.
You just hit yes. Should I read it first?